When Maya Rodriguez walked through the gleaming lobby of Titan Industries for her 10 a.m. interview, she carried more than just her carefully prepared portfolio. She carried 23 years of watching her father, Carlos Rodriguez, mop these same marble floors every night after the executives went home to their suburban mansions. The receptionist, a blonde woman with perfectly manicured nails, barely glanced up. Name: Maya Rodriguez. I have an interview with Mr. Harrison for the junior systems analyst position. The woman's fingers paused over her keyboard. Rodriguez, any relation to Carlos Rodriguez? Maya's spine straightened. He's my father. A smirk played at the corners of the receptionist's mouth. Well, that's interesting. Have a seat. Mr. Harrison will see you shortly. The waiting area was all glass and chrome, designed to intimidate. Maya had seen it being cleaned countless times, knew which corners collected dust that the day staff missed, which surfaces showed fingerprints under certain lighting. She'd grown up in the shadows of this building, doing homework in the maintenance closet, while her father worked double shifts to pay for her computer science degree. At exactly 10:15, she was escorted to the 42nd floor. The elevator operator, an older man named Frank, recognized her immediately. Maya, look at you in that sharp suit. Your dad must be so proud. Thank you, Mr. Frank. He is. As the doors opened, Maya stepped into a world of floor-to-ceiling windows and executive privilege. CEO Jonathan Harrison's office was bigger than her entire apartment. The man himself stood with his back to her, staring out at the city skyline like he owned every building in view. Ms. Rodriguez, he said without turning around. Please sit. She sat in the chair across from his massive oak desk, noting how it was positioned lower than his executive throne. A psychological power play she'd read about in business psychology books. When Harrison finally turned, his smile was predatory. He was younger than she'd expected, maybe 45, with the kind of perfectly styled hair that required daily professional maintenance. His suit probably cost more than her father made in 3 months. So, he said, settling into his chair and picking up her resume. Carlos Rodriguez's daughter. How quaint. The word quaint hit like a slap. Maya kept her expression neutral, but something cold settled in her chest. Harrison barely glanced at her resume before setting it aside. Tell me, Maya. May I call you Maya? What makes you think you're qualified for a position at Titan Industries? It was a standard interview question, but his tone suggested he'd already made up his mind. Maya launched into her prepared response about her degree, her internships, her coding certifications. Harrison's attention drifted to his phone. He murmured, scrolling through messages. And your references? They're listed on the second page of my resume, sir. 3 professors and 2 internship supervisors, all available for contact. Right. He still hadn't looked at the second page. Now, I have to ask. This isn't some sort of diversity hire situation, is it? Your father putting in a good word with building management. Maya's hands tightened in her lap. I'm sorry. It's just that we've never had anyone from your background apply for a technical position before. Usually, children of service staff tend to follow in their parents' footsteps. Nothing wrong with that, of course. Honest work. The condescension in his voice was thick enough to cut. Maya forced herself to breathe evenly. My background, Mr. Harrison, includes a 3.8 GPA in computer science, fluency in 6 programming languages, and internships at 2 Fortune 500 companies. I believe my qualifications speak for themselves. Harrison leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled. Of course, but qualifications on paper are one thing. Cultural fit is another. We need team members who can relate to our clients. People who understand the world we operate in. Translation: You don't belong here. I understand perfectly, Maya said quietly. More than you might think. Something in her tone made Harrison's eyes narrow. Oh, how so? I've been observing this company since I was 5 years old, Mr. Harrison. I know how it really works. A flash of something, annoyance, concern, crossed his face. But then his practiced smile returned. Well, that's nice. Unfortunately, we're looking for someone with a bit more polish. Someone who can represent Titan Industries at client meetings, corporate events. You understand. Maya understood perfectly. She also understood that the interview had been over before it began. Maya left the building with her father's words echoing in her mind. Major, sometimes the world tries to make you small. Don't let it. She spent the evening researching Titan Industries more thoroughly than she had for the interview. What she found made her stomach turn. The company had never hired a single person of color for any technical or executive position. Ever. In 30 years of operation, their diversity page was full of stock photos and empty promises. Their leadership team looked like a country club directory. All white, all male, all from the same 3 universities. Maya dug deeper. She found discrimination lawsuits that had been quietly settled. She found Glassdoor reviews from former employees describing a hostile work environment for anyone who didn't fit the Titan culture. She found evidence of systematic bias in their hiring practices. The next morning, she received a form rejection email. After careful consideration, we have decided to move forward with other candidates who better align with our current needs. That same day, her father came home with news that made Maya's blood boil. They're cutting the custodial staff, Carlos told her over dinner. Bringing in a cheaper contractor. 27 people losing their jobs, including me. What? But you've been there for 15 years. Carlos shrugged, but Maya could see the hurt in his eyes. Mr. Harrison says it's about efficiency, cost reduction. The new company will do the same work for 60% of the cost. Maya's phone buzzed. A LinkedIn notification. Jonathan Harrison had just posted about Titan Industries' record profits and their commitment to operational excellence. The pieces clicked together in Maya's mind. Harrison wasn't just a garden-variety elitist. He was systematically purging the company of anyone he considered beneath his standards. First, the custodial staff, probably facilities and security next. And he'd made it personal by humiliating her in that interview. Maya opened her laptop and began to type. 2 weeks later, Maya was working her part-time job at a coffee shop when she overheard a conversation that made her hands shake with rage. Jonathan Harrison, CEO of Titan Industries, one customer was telling another. Brilliant businessman. Just streamlined their entire operation. Cut labor costs by 40% in 1 quarter. How'd he manage that? Outsourced all the support staff. Maintenance, security, the works. Stock price jumped 12%. Guy's a genius. Maya bit her tongue so hard she tasted blood. Genius. They were calling him a genius for destroying families. That evening, she found her father sitting at the kitchen table. Unemployment paperwork spread before him. Papu, I'm so sorry. Carlos looked up, and for the first time in her life, Maya saw her father look truly defeated. 27 families, Mija. Good people. Some been there longer than you've been alive. We'll figure this out. I'll pick up more shifts. We'll make it work. It's not about the money. Carlos rubbed his temples. It's about respect. I kept that building running for 15 years. Never missed a day. Never complained. And he throws us away like garbage. Maya's laptop was open on the counter, still showing Harrison's LinkedIn post. The comments were full of praise from other executives, congratulating him on his tough but necessary decisions. Papui, Maya said slowly, what if I told you there was a way to fight back? Carlos looked at her sharply. Maya, no. Don't do anything stupid. These people have power. So do I, they just don't know it yet. That night, Maya made a decision that would change everything. She wasn't going to let Jonathan Harrison destroy her father's dignity without consequences. She opened her laptop and began to plan. Maya's computer science degree had taught her more than just coding. She understood systems, not just technological ones, but human ones, organizations, networks, vulnerabilities. She started with public records. Titan Industries was a publicly traded company, which meant certain information was available if you knew where to look. SEC filings, shareholder reports, executive compensation records. What she found was illuminating. Harrison had been systematically cutting costs and inflating profits for the past 3 years, all while awarding himself massive bonuses. The outsourcing of custodial services wasn't about efficiency. It was about making his numbers look good for an upcoming acquisition deal. But Maya needed more than financial records. She needed evidence of the discrimination, the toxic culture, the systematic exclusion of qualified candidates. That's when she remembered something her father had mentioned years ago. The building's security system was outdated, and most employees didn't realize that certain areas were still recorded, including conference rooms, including executive offices. Maya knew the building's systems better than anyone. She'd grown up watching her father work around them. She knew which access codes hadn't been changed in years, which maintenance areas were never monitored, which security cameras had blind spots. More importantly, she knew that the new cleaning contractor was cutting corners. They weren't properly securing sensitive areas after hours. They weren't following the security protocols that her father had maintained religiously for 15 years. Maya also reached out to every person who had ever worked at Titan Industries and left negative reviews online. She created an encrypted email account and began collecting testimonies. Stories of discrimination, harassment, and retaliation. Within a week, she had statements from 12 former employees, all describing the same pattern of behavior from Harrison and his inner circle. But Maya's real breakthrough came from an unexpected source, Jennifer Walsh, a mid-level manager who had been quietly documenting everything for months. "I've been waiting for someone to stand up to him," Jennifer told Maya during a secret coffee meeting. "I have recordings, email chains, evidence of deliberate discrimination in hiring. But I need my job." "What if you didn't have to risk your job? What if there was another way?" Jennifer leaned forward, interested. Maya outlined her plan. It was risky, but it was also brilliant. Maya's plan required perfect timing and a deep understanding of Harrison's psychology. She'd studied him during their interview, recognizing the type immediately. A narcissist who believed his own press, surrounded by yes men who never challenged his decisions. The key was giving him exactly what he wanted, an opportunity to demonstrate his superiority in public. Maya registered a new LinkedIn account under a slightly different name, Maya R. Rodriguez, Systems Consultant. She began posting thoughtful analyses of corporate efficiency and technological innovation. Within weeks, she had built a small but engaged following of industry professionals. Then she published a post that she knew would get Harrison's attention. The hidden costs of outsourcing. How short-term savings create long-term vulnerabilities. The post detailed, in technical terms, how companies that outsourced critical infrastructure support often experience security breaches, data loss, and operational failures within 6 months. She didn't mention Titan Industries by name, but anyone in the industry would recognize the pattern. Within hours, the post had dozens of shares and comments, including one from Jonathan Harrison himself. Interesting theory, but real leaders know how to maximize shareholder value while maintaining operational excellence. Some consultants need to understand business realities. Maya smiled. The hook was set. She responded professionally. "You're absolutely right that leadership matters. I'd love to discuss specific strategies with executives who have successfully navigated these challenges. Perhaps we could arrange a consultation." Harrison's ego couldn't resist. He direct messaged her within an hour. "My company, Titan Industries, has just completed a major operational restructuring. Happy to share insights on effective cost management. Are you available for a meeting next week?" Maya's fingers trembled as she typed her response. "I'd be honored to learn from your experience, Mr. Harrison. I'm particularly interested in how you've maintained service quality while reducing costs." The meeting was scheduled for the following Thursday at 2 p.m. in Harrison's office, with his entire executive team present. He wanted an audience for his moment of triumph. Maya spent the week preparing. Not just research and talking points, but something much more important. She contacted a journalist friend from college who specialized in corporate malfeasance. She also reached out to a labor rights attorney who had been looking for a test case to challenge discriminatory hiring practices. Everything was in place. Maya just needed Harrison to do what he did best: be himself. Maya walked into Titan Industries at 1:45 p.m., wearing the same navy blazer she'd worn to her interview. This time, however, she carried more than just a portfolio. Hidden in her briefcase was a recording device, along with printed evidence of everything she discovered about Harrison's practices. The receptionist, the same blonde woman from before, looked confused when Maya introduced herself. "Maya Rodriguez, weren't you here for an interview a few weeks ago?" "Different Maya Rodriguez," Maya said smoothly. "I'm a systems consultant." The elevator ride to the 42nd floor felt different this time. Maya wasn't nervous. She was focused. Harrison's office was crowded. His entire executive team was there, 5 men in identical expensive suits, all eager to watch their CEO demonstrate his business acumen to the consultant. "Ms. Rodriguez," Harrison said, standing to shake her hand. "Welcome to Titan Industries. I'm excited to share how we've revolutionized our operational efficiency." "Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Harrison. I understand you've recently made some significant changes to your support services." "Exactly." Harrison gestured to a chair, the same low chair from her previous visit. Maya sat down and pulled out her notebook. "Tell me about your decision-making process. How did you identify which services to outsource?" Harrison launched into a detailed explanation of his cost-cutting measures, clearly relishing the opportunity to showcase his business brilliance. He talked about redundant personnel, operational optimization, and maximizing shareholder value. "What about the human impact?" Maya asked innocently. "Displacement of long-term employees." Harrison waved dismissively. "Business isn't a charity, Ms. Rodriguez. Sometimes you have to make tough decisions. These people will find other opportunities. And the quality impact. I imagine 15 years of institutional knowledge is valuable." "Overrated," Harrison said confidently. "Most of these positions require minimal skill. A trained monkey could do the work." Maya's pen scratched across her notebook. Around the room, she noticed a few executives shifting uncomfortably. "Interesting perspective. What about diversity and inclusion in your workforce? Has the restructuring affected your demographic composition?" Harrison's smile became strained. "We hire the best candidates regardless of background. Merit is all that matters here." "Of course, and your technical positions. Do you find that candidates from diverse backgrounds bring different perspectives to problem solving?" "Look," Harrison said, leaning forward, "let me be frank. This is a sophisticated operation. We need people who fit our culture. People who understand our clients' expectations. Not everyone is suited for this environment." Maya nodded thoughtfully. "Could you elaborate on what you mean by fit your culture?" Harrison glanced around the room, seeming to remember his audience. "Well, obviously we need people with the right educational background, the right experience, the right presentation. Presentation? You know what I mean. Professional appearance, communication skills, the ability to represent our brand at corporate events, client meetings." Maya looked around the room, at the 5 white male executives, at the paintings of previous white male CEOs lining the walls, at the complete absence of any diversity in leadership. "Mr. Harrison, are you saying that people from certain backgrounds can't represent your brand professionally?" A warning bell seemed to go off in Harrison's head. That's not what I said. I'm just trying to understand your hiring criteria. Earlier you mentioned that merit is all that matters, but now you're talking about cultural fit and presentation. How do you reconcile those positions? Harrison's face was reddening. I think you're misunderstanding. Let me ask you this, Maya interrupted smoothly. Have you ever had a highly qualified candidate from a diverse background who you rejected for cultural reasons? The room was dead silent. Maya could hear the air conditioning humming. I don't see how that's relevant to operational efficiency, Harrison said stiffly. Maya closed her notebook and looked directly at him. Mr. Harrison, do you remember interviewing a computer science graduate named Maya Rodriguez about 3 weeks ago? Harrison's face went white. Because I remember that interview very clearly. I remember you suggesting that children of service staff should follow in their parents' footsteps. I remember you questioning whether I could represent your brand at corporate events. I remember you dismissing my qualifications without even reading my resume. Maya stood up slowly. And now I'm watching you destroy the careers of 27 families, including my father, who has maintained this building with more dedication and integrity than you've shown in this entire conversation. Harrison was on his feet now, face flushed with rage and embarrassment. This is some kind of setup. Security. Please, let me finish, Maya said calmly. Because I think your colleagues deserve to know what kind of leader they're following. She opened her briefcase and pulled out a folder. These are sworn statements from 12 former employees, describing patterns of discrimination and harassment. These are your company's diversity statistics compared to industry standards. And this is documentation of your systematic exclusion of qualified minority candidates. She placed the papers on Harrison's desk. Mr. Harrison, you don't have an efficiency problem. You have a leadership problem, and it's about to become very public. The fallout was swift and devastating for Harrison. Within 24 hours of Maya's confrontation, her journalist friend published a comprehensive expose titled The Titan of Discrimination: How One CEO's Bias Destroyed Careers and Violated Federal Law. The article included excerpts from the recorded meeting, testimonials from displaced workers, and a damning analysis of Titan Industries' hiring practices. By noon, it had been shared thousands of times across social media. The labor rights attorney Maya had filed a class action lawsuit that afternoon, representing all 27 displaced custodial workers and dozens of rejected job candidates who had experienced discrimination. But Maya's masterstroke came in the form of a detailed technical report she published on LinkedIn. How Titan Industries' outsourcing decision created a $50 million security vulnerability. Using her systems knowledge and her intimate familiarity with the building, Maya demonstrated exactly how the new cleaning contractor's corner cutting had compromised sensitive areas. She showed how reduced security protocols could lead to data breaches, intellectual property theft, and regulatory violations. The post went viral in the tech community. Industry experts began dissecting Titan Industries' practices. Stock analysts started asking uncomfortable questions about the company's risk management. Within a week, Titan's stock price had dropped 15%. 3 major clients announced they were reviewing their contracts. The SEC opened an investigation into the company's disclosure practices. Harrison tried to weather the storm, but his board of directors had seen enough. Emergency meetings were called. Lawyers were consulted. PR firms were hired. None of it mattered. The damage was done. On a rainy Thursday morning, exactly 1 month after Maya's confrontation, Jonathan Harrison announced his resignation as CEO of Titan Industries, citing personal reasons and a desire to pursue other opportunities. The interim CEO's first act was to reverse the outsourcing decision and offer full reinstatement to all displaced workers, with back pay and improved benefits. Maya's father returned to work the following Monday. When he called to tell her the news, She could hear the smile in his voice. "They want to make me head of facilities management," Carlos said. "Better pay, better title, better respect." "You deserve it, Papi. You always did." "No, Major. We deserve it. What you did. I'm so proud of you." Maya smiled, looking out at the city skyline from her new apartment. The one she could afford thanks to her new job as a senior systems consultant for a company that valued talent over pedigree. "We make a good team," she said. 3 months later, Maya received a LinkedIn message from Jennifer Walsh, who had been promoted to VP of Human Resources at Titan Industries. "We're looking for a new Chief Technology Officer, someone with fresh perspectives and the courage to challenge conventional thinking. Interested?" Maya stared at the message for a long moment, then typed her response. "I'd love to discuss the opportunity, but I have one condition. I want to personally interview every candidate for every technical position going forward. I have some ideas about cultural fit. Sometimes justice takes time. Sometimes it takes planning. And sometimes it just takes one person who refuses to be made small by someone else's prejudice." Maya Rodriguez, daughter of Carlos Rodriguez, custodian and keeper of institutional knowledge, had learned that the most powerful weapon against discrimination isn't anger. It's competence, coupled with the courage to use it. As she prepared for her interview with Titan Industries' board of directors, Maya remembered her father's words. "Major, sometimes the world tries to make you small. Don't let it." She hadn't, and she never would. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and become a part of our Everyday Life Stories community. Where are you watching from? Drop a comment below. We love hearing from our amazing viewers around the world.